This is what it looks like as I'm just showed up on the job, and it looks absolutely wonderful. They did a great job. The condensation line comes right out and drifts right there, and the electrical comes right with the line set. He's got to pull that at the end there, and this is all wrapped up tightly. This is gorgeous. Absolutely perfect. Nice job, fastened down securely. Okay, this is how we're starting our system. We're going to go ahead and remove our valve core right now. We simply undo the part. Because the line is set, there's nothing inside the line set. We don't need to hook the valve core removal tool up yet. We're just going to remove our valve core. And so we simply find it and push in, connect it. Okay, once we pushed in and connected it, so it's just a T. So we simply pull it out like that. Okay. Now we have the 5/16 adapter onto a 1/4 inch. So these ones come with the 5/16 adapter. So we'll put the 5/16 adapter on first. Before I do that, remember we always put a little, every time you touch a flare face, you want a little dab of vacuum oil. So we'll do that first. We're going to put on our valve core removal tool now. After we put on our adapter. Remember, every single flare face, you want a little bit of clean vacuum pump oil. On the adapter, it doesn't have any knurled ends on it, so you don't want to go super tight. It still has a nice O-ring on it, but you do want to tighten it up a little bit. Okay, so, because it has a place to put a tool instead of having knurled ends where you're supposed to use finger tight. You just simply use your tool and go a little tighter. Then bring this one here, which is your low loss fitting, bring that across. One of the most important things is always putting a little dab of oil on each one, each connection. Okay, now we'll go ahead and put on our pressure gauge so we can do our nitrogen pressure test before we do anything else. I want to make sure that our line set holds under pressure. Take our nitrogen hose and hook it right up. We have it coming from the regulator straight over to it. We're going to be controlling it by this valve right here on the valve core removal tool. Everything's finger tight. On the low loss valves, all you need is finger tight. Now we're going to go ahead and turn our thing on, so you won't be able to see anything. I'll show you the graph, but you won't be able to see anything because there's nothing to display. There's no digital display on the Testo gauge. You use your smart app to look at it and see what's happening in there. So we're going to go ahead and just test it first and see if the owner did all the line set connections. And so to make sure he torqued them all correctly, we're going to test them right now and see if they're holding pressure. When you turn this on, your pressure on the right side reads how much pressure you have in the bottle, which is 2,000 pounds for us. And then you want to turn this thing here to get a certain amount of pressure to your hose. Okay, so that's not done at all. And none of them are done, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and take them all off and nylock each connection. As you can see, I run the gamut here on torque wrenches. That's because every single size is different. For some reason they do not make universal sizes, so I have the CPS over here on the left that comes with all the normal sizes supposedly. I've never found that to be true. Same thing with these ones here. These are awesome because they flip open and you can get right in. You can get right in on those also. And then of course I have the Tasco, and so it works all perfectly. If between all three, I usually be able to pull it off, but I have a crescent wrench, torque wrench that I use also. If none of these three will work, I use the torque wrench from the crescent wrench. Anyway, regardless, we make it work. We're going to put a little nylog on each flare face. Nylog is POE oil that's been thickened, so it doesn't mess with our oil whatsoever because it is our oil. It's just simply thickened as a gasket and thread sealant. It works fantastic. You definitely need that nylog on every flare face. Okay, after visually inspecting the flare faces, you'll just double check, make sure you see no imperfections even on the flare surfaces. If there was an imperfection, now is the time to try to repair it. So when you do nylog, you simply squeeze out just a little bit to where it's a little tiny bubble. Make sure there's no dirt on that. Just a little bubble there, and you take that little bubble. You don't add to it. You just leave it right there. It's just a little bit. You don't squeeze more out of it. You just take it and rub it around the flare face. Okay. That same little bubble is all you're needing. Just enough to go on the flare face. Do the same thing here. The next one, just a little bubble, and take that bubble and run it all the way around. All the way around, and it's perfect. Now we will torque our line sets to spec. Before we torque them, we just simply bring them up to the connection, make sure they're on the connection. No issues before we get our torque wrench out. Everything's set up there. Now we'll torque them to spec. We will be using our Tasco torque wrenches today. When you go to torque these, on the valves especially, put your nuts back on, not all the way, just loose. That's going to help you hold without messing up your threads. It's going to help you hold the valve from too much force. You're putting a lot of force on it with the torque wrench, so you want to use your crescent wrench to hold it from being too much torque. Okay, so right now I'm going to be torquing on, so it goes this way. Okay, so I'm going to be holding this down and keep it from rising up. Okay, so we got our first one. This is again the Tasco, and they all only go one way. Every torque wrench only goes one way. See the arrow? It goes one way only every time. So we'll simply put it on there. You can see how much force is levered against there when you do that. Alright, so that's torqued on. Now we'll go to the next one. Again, trying to hold it down so where you're not too much pressure on the valve itself. And again, it only goes one direction. Alright, so that's torqued on. And now we'll go and torque the inside unit. There's two, these are the two line sets on the outside unit. There's two of the same nuts on the inside unit connecting the dots. We'll go in there and put nylog on those and torque those also. Okay, when you're going to have to use a unit that's mounted at the wall already, and the owner ran the line set, it's all run now, but I'm just going to open up the line set and put nylog on the flare faces and torque them to spec. And so you need to move it away. So because it's run out the left side, normally when you're putting on a mini split, you're punching a hole on this side and punching it out, and you got your line set connections on the exterior. Here they're on the interior because we're coming out the left side. I'm not sure exactly how much you can see on this. It seems like you won't be able to see much on as far as over here is concerned, but I'm going to be doing my work right here anyway. So we're going to go ahead and open this up. So what it is you always have to pull down and then push the little thing to separate the bottom from the unit. Okay, so now you have to have room to work on this. So what you want to do is, there's different ways of doing this, but I use a wedge. I have like 4 or 5 different videos to show you different ways of doing it, but the wedge right here in this situation works okay. I just need to have a couple inches to move it away. So what we're going to do is, this wants to keep falling back. It's under pressure, so it wants to keep falling back. But you put it under here, put it under the first one where the connection is, and you blow it up. And that'll give us just enough room to work our nuts without too much pressure on the nuts. Okay, so what you can do is, these bags are relatively inexpensive. Purchase a couple of them. So you can double them up. If you want to have a little more space, if you wanted to use the bags, you can put one on top of the other and blow them both up at the same time. It pushes it away that much farther. Okay, and check the other videos out for different tools to do that same process. Okay, just like the exterior, the interior, you want to visually inspect the flare faces. That's literally the most important part of the entire job. Is every single mini split that fails, it fails because of the connections. It'll leak all the refrigerant in a minuscule leak, and eventually the refrigerant will be gone. It's like running your car on low oil. Eventually, by the time you realize it's gone, it's messed up the compressor or something else. So you want to visually inspect your flare faces to make sure they're absolutely perfect. And if they are, again, your body too, you're not in control of your body, but you can see whether it has any kind of mess up at all. So look at it, visually inspect all connections, and then we're going to take our nylog, again, just like we did on the exterior, and you'll take a little drops. You'll see a little drop form there on the top. When you push it on, you're going to put that little drop and you're going to rub it all the way around the entire thing. So take that same drop. Don't add to the drop. Just take that same drop and go all the way around. Make sure you put it on the entire flare face. It works as a perfect seal. And so you just want to make one drop. And then take that drop and move it all the way around on your flare face. Okay, perfect. The flares all look good. Everything looks good as far as visually. Everything looks perfect. So that's all good. We're going to go ahead and connect them. You want to make sure your pipes are touching. This is exactly like you see right there. I'm not holding on to them. They're resting right where they belong. Then you'll bring your nut up to it and tighten it up. Okay, just like we did on the outside, exactly the same. You want to do the same thing on the inside. There's only 4 connections. You want to take your time and do those right, because those are the ones that go bad. Take your crescent wrench before you do your torquing. You simply just make sure when I go to move, you want to just tighten that. It's not torqued. It's just tightened so it doesn't move. Now I'm going to be working on this one. This one might have jiggled if I did not tighten that. Okay, so that's why you want to tighten them as you go. So then when you start messing with this one here, everything kind of gets rubbed around, and we didn't want that to move. So we take this one here, we put it on, and again, we want it touching, connected and perfectly connected. Then just put our joint, our nut on there, turn it on. We want to torque. We're going to tighten that up too, the same exact way. Not torquing, just tightening it up so we can begin our torquing process. Okay, so that's all set up now. Now we're going to go ahead and torque everything to spec. And here you want to have a backup wrench the same size as your torque system. So we have a little torque system is a 1/4 inch pipe. So we have a little crescent wrench. Okay, so it's the same thing. Whenever you turn these, you only turn the nut. The body never turns. So when you were on the outside on the valve, of course, that wasn't going anywhere because it's bolted to the ODU. But this is not bolted. This is just a pipe with a body stuck to it and brazed on. So we want to make sure that does not move in the slightest. You simply take that and you put a wrench on it and you hold it tightly. That never moves. You only move the nut itself. And remember, your arrow goes with the way you're trying to torque. So right now we're trying to torque it on, trying to torque it the other way. So we're going to put the arrow going the correct way. Okay. Now we bring our torque wrench over. You see how much I'm moving the other pipe? That's why you wanted to have that thing set up. Okay, because everything moves when you're in these little tight areas. Hold your body still. Do not let the body move. Just move your torque wrench. All right, perfect. Now we're going to do the 3/8 line now. The same thing applies. Put your backup wrench on there and hold that body still. Do not allow it to move. Okay, every time on. On. Okay, so on goes this direction. And hold your body still. And just move your nut. Okay, perfect. All right, so we got our line set all done now, but do not seal that up. Only seal this up after your final test. So we're going to go do a nitrogen pressure check, and we'll hold it and we'll watch it on our graph for 10 minutes. If it holds the pressure, which is here, this system has 550 pounds of high and then 350 of low. We're going to go around 500 pounds of pressure. And if it holds 500 pounds of pressure for 10 minutes on our test, we're gonna, if it's not holding, we'll go check and see what's leaking. We'll come through here, we'll go through the outside, we'll figure out one of the 7 joints are leaking. If we don't see anything leaking and it holds a pressure test, we will start vacuuming. After we vacuum, after we got our pressure check, after we've done our vacuuming, then we're going to turn the system on. And after we turn the system on, it's no longer static pressure like with the nitrogen just sitting there, but it's going to be compressor pressure. It'll be the whole system working in conjunction with one another and running refrigerant through the entire lines. Then we want to come out here and check it's not leaking for the last test. The final test is making sure nothing's leaking when everything's running. Then we'll wrap up the line set. Okay, do not wrap up this line set till your final test. Okay, we're doing our nitrogen pressure check. We've been doing it for over 10 minutes now, and it hadn't gone down at all. It's 511.1. Sometimes it goes up to 2, and you expect nitrogen to go up and down based on temperature. So we're not going down from loss of nitrogen. I checked all the joints with soap, and everything's perfect, and there's no leaks anywhere. So we're going to go ahead and start our vacuuming. We passed our 10-minute pressure check with no loss of, that's what's nice about the Testo pressure gauge. It shows you every single, you look at the bottom left, every single second that goes by, it's showing you what's happening in the system. So you know right away whether you're losing or not, every single second. Whereas most digital gauges do not have the second by second blur, and they're only half PSI, not tenth of a PSI. So this shows you every single tenth And so it's working out great. This is the perfect test. It's 511.2 and we're doing great. So we're going to go ahead and straight to our vacuum. Okay, before I start our vacuuming, I want you to see the system as we have it. It's a nitrogen bottle, and it is set for high, but the valve's been turned off, and it's valved off here at the valve core removal tool. So it's under no, it's not pushing any nitrogen in. And so we have it set right now, and it is, that's the testo gauge, and we looked at that on the graph. All right, so that's your system as it just shows up, and it works out perfect. In preparation for your deep vacuum, you want to release the nitrogen slowly. The slower it is, it definitely works out really good to dry out the system. So turn it on about like that, and let it all dry it out. As soon as it gets to 0, we will start our vacuuming. Okay, we started our vacuuming about a minute ago. We're down to 378 now. As soon as we get down to a low number, I'll make that determination when I see it stall, per se. I usually just go to 100, and then I go, as soon as it gets to 100, I go 5 minutes more. I just put it on a timetable and do 5 minutes more, and that's my low. So I usually just go to 100 and 5 minutes more, that's my low. Sometimes it stalls for whatever reason, so I don't play with it. I just say, I'm just being anal when I say I go to 100 and then go lower, because sometimes it doesn't work. But that's what I like to do. That's the way I like to do it. So we're going to go ahead and try for that. What I like to do is to get it down to 100 and then go 5 minutes more. It's been, like I said, about 2 minutes or so in so far. We're down to 200 now. It seems like, unless something stalls, it'll get to 100 shortly. And then we will do 5 minutes after that. And the 5 minutes after that is just as low as it can get in that 5 minutes. And so we'll go from there. Anyway, it's 11:54, and I will bring you back in a few minutes to see where we're at. Okay, it's we have 100. You can see the time and date. It's noon right now, and I got it to 104. I'm going to go 5 minutes more, and so I'm going to set my timer. So at 12:05, that'll be our low, and then I will start our decay test at that point. I'll bring you back in 5 minutes. Okay, we did our vacuuming down to, I can't remember what we got down to. Anyway, I did 5 minutes more after that, and we may have been at 100, I don't remember, but we did 5 minutes more. We're at the 5 minute mark now, so it's 76 microns is our low, and I allow it to go to 176. They say you're allowed to release your refrigerant if you're under 500. I don't buy that for a minute. So as far as I'm concerned, as far as my anal self is concerned, I allow it to rise 100 above my low. So my low is 75. I'm going to clean my valves off one more time. You can watch that on the bottom left. You can see the second by second how it goes. We're at 12:07 p.m. Or yeah, so you can see it's 74 at the very bottom left. That's what the second you should be looking at. Okay, those things there. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean my valve off on the valve core removal tool, and you want to clean it off occasionally, and before you start your decay test for sure. And so you can see it rising right there because it's cleaning off the valve. Okay, so you want your valve as clean as possible so it doesn't ruin your decay test. So we're at 74. I allow it to go to 174. So I'm going to go ahead and valve it off and then turn off our pump. And so now we're under the test, and we'll see if it goes to 174. I allow it to go to 174. It equalizes right now between the two, because you only have, on a mini split, you only have one valve, not two. And so it has to equalize between the two. So that's where the rise comes from. And so it went from, I think 77, 75, I don't remember. Anyway, it usually never gets anywhere near the top, so I don't have to worry about that. But I think it was 74 or something, and I allow it to go to 174. And if it didn't stay, I would simply start vacuuming again. Because every time you vacuum, It just takes more time, but what you're doing is you're taking away even more non-condensables out of the system. Whenever you see a rise, it's showing non-condensables, okay? And so you want to be pulling out as many as possible. Every micron is 1/1,000,000th of a meter of mercury. That's a millionth of a meter of mercury. That's why you can never use analog gauges. It's just ridiculous. You can't see anything like this on an analog gauge. You're literally seeing here a millionth of a meter of mercury on every single micron. Okay, it's incredible. The technology that goes in this system and vacuuming system is just wonderful. Anyway, so we'll bring you back in 10 minutes. I have a 10-minute decay test, and we will. It was 12:06, I believe. So we'll bring you back at 12:16 and see if it went over 175. If it did not, we will release our refrigerant into the system and start our final test. And remember, our final test is checking all 7 joints. The 2 at the inside unit and the line set connection, the 2 at the outside unit and line set connection, and the 3 service valves. Okay? And so you want to check everything for leaks while the system's under pressure. So during the winter, we're in the summer now, so we're going to turn on cool mode and turbofan and 60 degrees, and then we're going to come out and test all 7 joints. If all 7 joints are, nothing's leaking under that pressure. So we already tested it with nitrogen pressure and it did fine. We already did our vacuuming, and so far it looks perfect and doing fine. And then we're going to do our final test, which is checking for leaks under actual pressure, working pressure, the compressor moving refrigerant through the entire system. That's never been tested before in this system. So you want to do your final test, perform your final test before you wrap up your line set and before everything's wrapped up. You can enjoy your life when your final test is over. Okay, so we'll bring it back here at 6 more minutes, so 12:16. 6 more minutes, we'll bring it back, and if it hadn't gone over 175, we will release our refrigerant into the system. If it has gone over 175, I will simply start the vacuuming process over again and boil out more non-condensables. So anyway, no problem at all. It's so rare that that's ever happened to me. I can't remember the last time, so I don't envision it happening this time either. But you never know. Anything could happen. So anyway, I just leave that up in the air and we'll see what happens. I'll see you in about 5 minutes. Okay, this is what the testing system looks like. It's simply a power cord hooked up to a pump, and then the pump with a 1/2-inch hose brought over to our system. And our system consists of a Testo micron gauge, and then you have 2 valve core removal tools. And let me see if I can get you a little closer there. You have 2 valve core removal tools, and the second one is there to protect the micron gauge. When I go to release the refrigerant, I will valve that off so no refrigerant will get onto the Testo pressure gauge. And I will walk you through the system. If it holds, I'm going to walk you through the system of putting your valve core back in. So we have the valve core removed in this system, and we have it valved off. I got some cords in the way, so it's hard to show you everything. But anyway, we have it valved off here, and I'll show you how to do the valve core. I'll put the valve core back in under vacuum, so we don't lose any of our vacuum when you do the process correctly. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. We got a few more minutes for a decay test, and if all goes well, I'll be putting the valve core back in and starting our system. Okay, we did our 10-minute decay test. We're at 142. You look at the bottom left of the screen. That's your decay and how much is decayed. We had it 74, and I allowed it to go to 174. And we're nowhere near, we're at 143, so we've done great, and we're going to go ahead and release our refrigerant into the system now. Okay, I'm going to attempt to show you how to put the valve core back in upside down. Normally I'm not near as a big RV right here, and I can't get behind you, I can't get to the side of you. I'm stuck right here in this little cornice area, so I'm going to attempt to do it upside down, and it should work out fine. This may be hard for you to see. I'm doing my best to make you a good video, but I'm not positive I can pull it off. So we're going to go ahead and take this off now. Hopefully without messing any of our vacuum up. Okay, as I showed you before, this is our where you're at. This is our valve core. Okay, I went ahead and put a brand new one on there. They say you're only supposed to use them one time, so when you take them off, you're supposed to put them back and put in a new one. I've never found that to be true. I have test units that I've done 100 times and been perfectly fine each time. But I went ahead and I didn't like the looks of that one. It looked like it was a little bit bent or something, so I went ahead and put a heavy duty one on, and we'll go ahead and replace it with a brand new heavy duty one. So anyway, when you go to put it in, you can't get past the valve. It's valved off for our protection. That's what's holding our vacuum right now. And so we can't mess with our valve. So what we have to do is bring this part of the tool up, okay, and simply bring the valve core in and set it in there, and then bring it stops because it hits the valve, and bring this thing here up. And what that does is this is a low loss valve, and it allows the refrigerant that we're going to release into it. We're going to release a little bit right now once we got this thing set up, and we're going to release a little bit into it so we don't lose our vacuum. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take off the nut. So we have a nut right here. It doesn't matter whether it's top or bottom, but whenever you have the tools, you go to the other one, whether it's top or bottom, that doesn't matter. Look for the one with the tools and go to the other one that doesn't have tools on it, and you want to release that bit, that one there, okay? That way it'll circulate all the way through to the tools, okay? It does it either way, but it's still better to do this. We get in the habit of doing that regardless. Okay, now we're going to release 1 second's worth of refrigerant. Okay, not a lot. That way, in case we had a disaster, something actually happened, we wouldn't lose any refrigerant. It'd just be a little wisp, a 1 second wisp of refrigerant. Okay, so it's already screwed all the way in from the factory. We're releasing it out, so we want to go this way. Okay, so we come in here, we go. That's it, 1 second worth. That put back pressure on our tools now. So now we can't lose our vacuum. Our vacuum is sealed, okay, with refrigerant. And so what we want to do is release a little bit. We're going to go like this, and that's going to put pressure all the way down. Okay, so we just unvalved it. Now we're going to release a little bit of that air. See that? Okay, really released all the air. And now we're pure vacuum, okay? And now we're going to take our tool and push it up. Again, it's hard to do upside down, but you got to push it up to beat the pressure of the refrigerant. It's not a lot of pressure, but it's some. And as you're pushing it up, you turn the knob to screw it in. While keep your finger on it, press it. Usually use your thumb because you're going the other direction, but I'm having to use my finger here. And I just want to go up till it's tight. You don't want to go too much and break the thing. Just feel for it and feel that it's tight. It's like you're tightening a nut or a bolt. That really is essentially a bolt. Okay, so it's nice. And then we release it. Okay, and now we valve it off. All right, now we're going to put a test cap here. It's valved off now, so it's totally safe. Nothing's happened. Our refrigerant's all safely secured in here under this valve. Okay, so even if the worst case scenario had a bad valve removal, bad valve core, we simply replace it again. But right now we're just assuming it's perfect. It was a perfect one we put in there, and we assume everything else went perfect. So we take this off, and now we're going to test that and see if it held. Okay, what we have is a test cap, and it's just a regular cap with a hole I drilled in it. Okay, so it's just a regular cap with a hole I drilled in it, and we're going to put that on. And then we're going to test it with bubbles and see if it's leaking anything. So right now, we're just going to open it up, and we're going to test it with the same bubbles we had before when we did all of our testing to see if anything was leaking. So we simply, you see how much bubbles we have here? Hoping you can see that. You have bubbles, and if you had any leakage, it would be blowing out right now. So we can see that there's no leakage. It's perfect. The valve core held perfectly. Okay. So now we're going to remove this system. Okay. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and remove our system. Now we're going to release our refrigerant into the system. So everything's done. Our valve corp tested perfect, and it was simple as that. Now we'll simply open up the refrigerant, and again, with the side that's not connected to where the tools was. So we do that one first, and there's a little stop right there, and it stops you from going any further. So you just go right up to the stop. Make sure you open both valves. It's real important. Some people forget the second valve. Then we're going to take a little bit of Nylog and put it on all these, okay, and seal them up. Okay, so put a little bit of Nylog on. This is not much of a flare face. Okay, so you put it on the threads too. So put it on the face, but put it on the threads too. Okay, these things are not decorative. These are for the sealing, so it helps to seal. So in case these have a single O-ring or double O-rings on them, and whether single or double, that's what holds all your refrigerant. And there's little O-rings, and then inside here it's a little valve core. You saw it before when I just showed it to you. That valve core has got a little plastic washer. Really, not even rubber, it's plastic, and it needs to be protected from everything. And so you want to have a little Nylog on each one of these things and tightened up. You don't have to torque them, but you need to cinch them up, tighten them up, and that'll protect it from the weather and atmosphere and other things. And if it did leak through an O-ring or a plastic or whatever, it would stop at the seal. It would stop at your what you've done here. You've created a seal. So even if it did fail, it would not lose any refrigerant because you sealed it. Okay, so make sure we do that. Anyway, same thing applies. Take a little, just push out a little bit of Nylog, and then just spread it around on your threads. Okay, you put it on your flare face and on the threads. You don't keep adding to the circle, you just make a little dot and then use that to go around the entire thing. Okay? Put on your pieces. And then again, you don't have to torque them on, but you just want to make them tight. So use a small crescent wrench, very small, because you want this. What you're trying to, whenever you're trying to accomplish something, you don't grab the torque wrench or the crescent wrench. It's the same size of what you're trying to do. We're not trying to do a lot of torquing here. We're trying to do just tighten it all up. Okay. Now it's all good to go. We're going to go ahead and turn on the power and run this system and see how it goes.